Hey there everyone, Luke here, and I know I am well behind on the chapters. In fact, we have two chapters that have come out. We've had Bone Crisis Part 3 and Bone Crisis Part 4 coming out. Now, the reason why I didn't do Bone Crisis Part 3 last week is because I was just busy with work and everything. I had personal stuff going on as well. But since I'm off for the next 2 weeks, I'll get both these reviews out as quickly as possible before we get Bone Crisis Part 5 coming up this week out. So we're having chapter 234 now, and then later on in the week we'll do chapter 235, ready for chapter 236. Okay, got all that going on. So yeah, Bone Crisis Part 3, which is a little bit confusing when you consider the fact that we're on 234 and we have part 3, and 235 is part 4, and then 236 will be part 5. But yeah, so we saw from the end of the last chapter where we have Dory going into this like primal warlocky familiar state, whatever Dory is. We don't really get any confirmation about what he actually is in this chapter, which is a shame, because I thought they were going to go into it like, oh, he's like a primal warlock, born for two other warlocks. But yeah, Keigo and Charmy are just like there, just gritting the teeth, probably freaking out themselves, like, what the hell is that? That story? Like, what actually happened? What actually happened to him? And they have to remember, like, oh yeah, this spell movability doesn't actually make them totally invisible. It just makes them hard to notice. So yeah, Dory can even still sense that, probably still sense that they're actually around, like someone is actually there with him. And it's like, yeah, with how quiet the room is, he can still detect, like, just the smallest step could be like, oh, okay, you're over there right now. So they're a bit confused of like what, not only what Dory is, but also the fact that, oh crap, we've got a little bit careless when Charmy's alert didn't go off. So how is he avoiding it? So I'm glad that they're actually asking the questions that are going on here. And like I said, my personal theory is that he was born from two warlocks who meaning he has no power, he doesn't really have a way to, if he really is like a primal warlock, doesn't have a way to turn himself into a witch from a warlock. But yeah, at this point, Dory is just there. He can't see him like his heart's set, but he knows that someone is there. So he still starts ripping up the room, tearing it to limbs. Obviously, in an attempt to try and lure them out, to try and get them out in the open. And you see Keigo still struggling, and Charmy is there, just like probably be like, make it stop and everything. As they continue on by saying, it looks like he's looking for something. Hopefully that means he didn't get a clear look at them. But whatever the case, they have to get out of this room. Yeah, they have to get out of the room, move quietly enough with mobility up, and they should be able to sneak past him. Yeah, easier said than done when Dory is in this like really like bestial state, and then you have Charmy there who is basically just at this point quivering on the ground, just be like, make it stop, because this is someone who she's looked up to as like a big brother figure, and to see him in this state, to see him go over to the dark side, join the warlocks, and become this like rage-induced monster. Yet anybody would be like, oh my god, we're not going to get out of this alive. And yeah, Keigo is just at this point like, okay, yeah, there's no way we are getting out with Charmy in this situation. Like, she just swayed profusely, like, probably in sheer terror. So now they have no idea what they're supposed to do in this situation before we get a reminder of where everyone is. So Nico is standing by on the top deck. Morihito is observing Shikimi in the lounge. Charmy and Keigo are hiding in the restaurant where they're being confronted by Dory. Nemu, Miryu and Ban are moving towards the casino, and Moriichi and Kashi are tailing a signal towards the bar. So yeah, we've got the casino, the bar, the restaurant, and the top deck. All the areas that are being seen to, before we go over to Maverick and Argo, just chilling out in the bar. So yeah, these are the ones that Momo and Khan are going to have to come up against. So it's so a bit of a shame that we're not actually focusing the entirety of this chapter on the Dory, Kago, and Charming fight. Instead, like we're just cutting around. Like, okay, this is where they are. Now let's go over to see what those guys are. I would have preferred if like we just got a string of chapters just focusing on Dory, Charming, and Kago. But whatever. It's besides the point. So they're observing Agro and Maverick, and they say those two are warlocks. They've just sitting there talking. Both of them look like they have a few. They've had a few too. So it's this time that they've got a chance to actually nab two bones. Like the warlocks, yeah, they're a bit like tipsy, a bit out of it. So yeah, this is the one chance that they actually have actually shot of taking the bones. So as they're observing Maverick and Agro, Khan says to Momo, like, what they're talking about, it would be great if we could get an idea of their abilities, and she suggests that maybe we should get a little bit closer, and is there any way we can hide? So, like, I like how they're detecting, like, okay, are we going to get around here, or are we going to get around there? Like, but easier said than done, because they're in a confined space without any real ability to actually go anywhere, and Khan says, oh, can you just teleport us behind the bar? Before she confirms, like, no, I can't do that because I can't see it from where I'm seeing right now. So even though the bar is clearly in her eye line, so she could clearly see it, I'm guessing that she has to be like fully in the area itself. But yeah, it's clear that from this angle of the panel that she can see exactly where the bar is, so she should be able to teleport them. I don't know. I don't know, but she goes on and says there's only 3 ways I can actually teleport. It has to be somewhere I've been before, somewhere I can see clearly, or wherever Cheeky is, like Cheeky being her bird. But again, it's like, you can see it, like, Momo, you're right there, you can see it, like, what is up with it? She could also ask Cheeky to fly behind the bar, but they might hear that instead, and she could teleport them next to it, then they can activate mobility and duck behind the bar. But yeah, regardless of that, they do have a plan, and this is the plan that they go with. So she does this, and they use mobility, and the plan seems to go off without a hitch. But at the same time, it is terrifying because they've still got 2 of the warlocks there with them as they're using mobility to be really undetected before they crawl themselves under one of the tables. And Khan's just there like, we should be out of sight now, but we could drop mobility now, right? But yeah, there really is no way they should be doing that right now. They should keep mobility up for as long as possible until they're absolutely clear. Like, okay, we're behind the bar. Like, can they see us or anything? Is anything gonna go on? And even then, like, they really need to be absolutely 100% careful that they don't drop this spell. Otherwise, something terrible is going to happen. But they're not entirely out of the clear because Momochi is still sticking out a bit. Like, their back legs are still sticking out, and she says, "Oh, you got a head hidden, but the rest of you is just scooting off right now. So yeah, get everything back here as quickly as possible. So they'll see you, like, totally panicking. They'll see him as we see Maverick just let out a big scream, and Carl's just there like, oh crap, has he spotted us? Has he spotted us? Like, you can see the look of terror on Carl's face right now, of just like, oh my god. Please don't tell me he's spotted us. But yeah, what Maverick is saying right now is just that it's probably been listening to Agro's like depressing backstory here. But no, so it's it's more of a case of like he's not screaming at them of noticing them. He's screaming like, that's kind of the thing that Maverick's going on here as he goes, that's so rough. I can't believe how they bullied you. Going through that must have been how I heard that some folks wind up as warlocks after experiencing serious trauma. You must be one of them. And Agro doesn't even say anything here. He's just there, just silently nodding. As we do get quite a bit of backstory for Agro here. As Maverick goes on and says, and what about those 3 kids who bullied you? What happened to them afterwards? As we cut to Maverick, who without any of like his tattoos or anything on his face that he has, and without his horns as well, battered and bloody and bleeding. As you have three bullies who I assume they're all in high school now, so it's kind of like a high school bullying situation, and they say like, oh, what, you got some problem here? What's with that glare? Dodge, and we'll make you eat bugs again. Hold still. I'm gonna drop you into next week. Aggro must have killed these guys. Aggro must have like just unleashed unmitigated rage on these guys. But what he says here is like, I don't care anymore. But yeah, he probably went full on terror on those guys. So after Aggro goes into his flashback and he's like, oh, I don't care about what happened to those guys, we have Maverick going like, oh yeah, you don't care much about anyone, do you? But I'm the actual opposite. I want to know much about you. I want to know everything about you. So what kind of magic do you have? I really want to know that. I'll tell you my magic if you tell me your magic. Essentially, is what Maverick is saying here. But Aggro's just there like, really? That's what you want to know? Like, look, I'm not. Even though we're allies, I have no obligation to tell you about anything about me, which is true. And maybe the reason why Aggro doesn't want to do this is because he's very ashamed about what he actually did to those guys, and like he's very ashamed of the actual magic he does possess. Before he goes on and says, "What about you, Maverick? What are your abilities?" And Maverick's there like, "Oh, starting to care a bit about me, huh?" But probably thinking that in the back of his mind, like, "Oh, you're just being a hypocrite here. Like, I want to know about your abilities. You're refusing to tell me, and yet now you want to know about my abilities." That's probably what's going through Maverick's mind at the moment here. But nevertheless, he does go on to say, "I'll tell you if you want to know." As we get him actually putting his mask back, and we see under his face, like his skin is just like absolutely like ripped to shreds. So my guess is, and call me crazy here, but my guess is that Maverick was one of Aggro's bullies. Like they both know the reason why Aggro isn't saying anything is because he knows what he did to Maverick back in the day, and Maverick's probably forgotten at this point. He's probably been someone who's just been like, oh, this, like, I got it from a fight one time. I don't really know what happened to the guy that did this to me, but I would like to think that this is the case. Like, Maverick is one of the school bullies that bullied Aggro back in the day, and what Aggro did to him is very much on display here, because you see it like just like ripped skin, like scars anywhere, battle scars, like some teeth are actually missing, and he's willing to tell you, like, hey, if you want to know, I'll tell you. I've got nothing to hide. And further evidence that I conclude here is that why I feel like Aggro knows what he did to Maverick is that he's like, no, never mind. Like, he literally cuts off, like, he sees it and he's like, okay, yeah, I don't need to be reminded of what I did to you. That's if that comes to fruition, that Maverick is Aggro's former bully, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. If it's gross, I don't want to hear it. Obviously, yeah, if it is gross, like, nobody would want to hear, like, oh my god, like, what the hell did you actually go through? And this is where Maverick says, like, what, really? I took you for the type who'd love that stuff. As we cut over to find out what Khan's perspective on everything is. It says that I'm going to be nice enough to give them any specific intel, but by the way, what Khan's saying, there aren't going to be enough. They aren't going to be nice enough to give the specific intel on what's going on before we actually have them literally giving specific intel, like just blurting out, like, oh, by the way, where have you got your sealed box stash? Like, literally telling them, like, hey. This without them knowing, like, hey, they're telling the enemy this, like, oh, I've got it somewhere on my body here, like the soul box, that little silvery box that keeps the bone in. If they find out where they are, they can steal it. So this is where, like, and this is where they hit the jackpot, because they're literally telling, like, hey, where have you actually got the box? And Aggro says, I don't need to tell you that. As Maverick says, come on, I'm asking out of curiosity for you. Lose that and Shikimio will have you hide. And yeah, I've got mine in my vest pocket. This is what Maverick's saying. Like, yeah, mine's in my vest pocket. pocket is good and safe in there. Hell, the only way I'd lose it if the Invisible Man came and stole it. Like, he's literally foreshadowing what is going to happen to him later on. Like, not in this chapter, but the next chapter. Like, I'm gonna give a slight spoiler in this review, but yeah, he's literally foreshadowing what's gonna happen later on for him. So as Khan listens in to everything, he says to Momo like, "Oh, we can swipe the mask through box since we actually know where it is on his body," and Momo says, "Okay, it's just like what we planned, so let's go through the plan here. Like, the biggest hurdle to this operation was figuring out how to physically take the bone. Movability requires holding a specific pose to stay active. No one would have a hand free to grab the box. So yeah, bit of a hurdle right there. That yeah, we know where the box is, but we can't actually grab it without the risk of them noticing." Excuse me. Plus, that if they want to use an invisibility spell, they free up their hands. They have to drop mobility first before casting it, further risking them actually being caught and found out. But fortunately, Khan's got a secret weapon, his Tengu cloak. Once he puts it on, he's basically got the invisibility cloak. That's basically what it is. So he'll be invisible for 7 seconds, and that gives him plenty of time to actually just be like, "Okay, I'm safe, right? Just grab it out of the way." Now he's just got to get it out of the mask guy's vest pocket, which is easy said and done, because yeah, even though he knows it's in his vest pocket, he has no idea which one it actually is. And if I was Maverick, you see Maverick holding a drink here, but if I was Maverick, I'd be there like just being like there, like using one of my hands to like block as many of the pockets as possible while I had my drink, not just have my hand out as like a free for all. But yeah, Keiko just absolutely bricky right here. Like, he doesn't know which one it actually is in. There's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pockets that it could potentially be in, and yeah, he's like, "Oh, what the hell, bro? Which one isn't it? Don't go around wearing clothes with tons of pockets." Like, no. You should have known, like, something like this would happen. Like, they're going to have, like, tricks and misdirections for you guys. Like, they're not going to make this easier for you guys to find these bones. But he goes on and says, "There's no way I can figure it out in just 7 seconds," before Momo says, "Oh, why don't we try the mints," which is Nico's other spell, before we cut to a flashback where we have Morihito saying, "I thought of ways we could take advantage of Nico's magic. As a basic rule, she can't cast spells on her opponent in ways that could be viewed as an attack. That goes double if the opponent is a warlock. If there's just a trace of enmity there and she harms them even slightly, that could count as an attack, one that would instantly turn her into a warlock." So yeah, they have to be very careful on not having things perceived as an attack, which means that Charming, well, she can't physically fight Dory, she can at least defend, because that's not counted as an attack in my eyes. Although it might be different for the way the witches perceive, like, oh, is this a defensive move counted as an attack or not? So they continue to reiterate that casting any of the spells on any of the warlocks is risky, and Morita says that if she should only use her, if anything, she should only be using her magic on us. So he thought of many ways he could enchant mints that they could carry with them, and he went over all the spells, picked out the most useful ones, but after much thought he realized, like, he couldn't find it. He basically ran into a brick wall of trying to find useful spells to use against warlocks by enhancing these mints. And yeah, Khan goes on and says, yeah, her spells are totally useless. You've got to remember all the pain and suffering she's put me through. And Morito agrees, like, yeah, a lot of them are self-sabotaging spells. The other issue is how easily each spell can be infused into mints. It's easy to do so, but it's easy to do so with some, but not with others. So he's ran the list down, ran some tests, and settled on 3 spells that they could take advantage of. So they'll pick whichever one they want, and Momo's team, the one with Momo and Card, got transparency. So it grants X-ray vision at a range that depends on how long you're close to you close your eyes. For example, you could close your eyes for 5 seconds and see through anything up to 50 meters away. So this is the plan that they're actually going with. So the spell will let them see which pocket actually has the box in. So that gives them enough time for Khan to actually go in there, grab it, and get it out and steal it. So this is where Momo gives Khan the mint, and he says, "Okay, I basically have X-ray vision now. I'm going to strip you bare." The question is how far away I am from the fest. So he's about 1 meter, maybe. No, maybe about. So he's not sure of like exactly how far away from the pocket he actually is. But Khan goes on and says, "Let's go with that. Which means I need to close my eyes for 12 seconds. But how he's supposed to time it? Does he just have to get? He's basically like it's basically a guessing game with this spell." And he goes on and says, "Am I really stuck? Am I really stuck eyeballing distance and guessing time?" Yeah. You are essentially, but you just gotta go with your basic instincts here, Khan. And he goes on and says, "Holy crap, the spell is hard." Before we cut over back to Keigo, Charmy, and Dory, with Dory still trashing the room and everything. So yeah, with this, it's pretty intense. That Khan, like, okay, he has all the pieces in place. It's just how is he going to utilize them to actually get the box from Maverick? And Charmy even has the same idea that they have mints, and there is a way that they can turn this mess into their advantage. So depending on what the mint, depending on what mints they actually do give to Dory, to Keigo, Charmy, or possibly Slump. Slump's a situation that could be used in this idea. By the way, that's the end of the chapter. So yeah, really good, intense chapter here. We got the beginning of Charmy, Keigo, and Dory. Although I wish this was the focus of the entire chapter, but it was nice to see like what Momochi and Khan are getting up to now. The big question is like, even though it seems like they're saying like, oh, okay, we're going to get the bones of these two guys, who's actually going to fail? Like, there has to be someone that has to fail here. Like, considering, like I said, it's called Bone Crisis. So, we have to have a situation where at least one of them fails. We can't have force victories all around. But, again, that's something we'll have to wait and see. And like I said, I'll be doing the review of the next chapter of Bone Crisis Part 4 in chapter 235 later on in the week. So whatever answers we'll get, we'll be waiting for in the next chapter. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And this will be Lasherluke signing off. Later, guys.